So, you've seen quite a good part of my collection already, but no Seiko yet. Is he alright, you might wonder? Fear not, today it is time to talk about a Seiko timepiece. Again, not the most common choice for the one and only Seiko in a collection maybe, but perfect for me. It's an SKX, but not what you're probably expecting right now. Let's unleash the original, the first generation of the Monster. My name is Jan, and you're watching the Time Channel. Seiko itself doesn't need a big introduction, I think. Always and solely owned by the Hattori family since 1881. Completely independent and producing everything themselves. Seiko is the household name for Japanese watchmaking. They also won the race for the first quartz-powered wristwatch against the Swiss in 1969 with the launch of the Seiko Astron, which had a huge impact on the industry as a whole. And they also had the first automatic chronograph to go to space, since NASA astronaut William Pogue decided to bring his 5-sport SpeedTimer as part of his personal belongings in 1973. I'd love to have one of those. But let's stop here about Seiko's general milestones and dive into the different generations and versions of the Seiko Monsters for a minute. From 2000 to 2012, the first generation was available in 2 dial colors, an orange one and this black version. The orange one was deemed more popular, but I prefer this less flashier, if that's even possible, version. Additionally, there were quite a few limited editions with crazy designs, mainly available in Thailand and Japan. The second generation started in 2012 and featured different indexes resembling teeth of a fish or monster, and they were rather white than the greenish hue right here. They also dropped the numerals close to the indexes. The crown was knurled, not ridged anymore. Other than that, the case and bracelet remained the same. The movement itself was updated to the caliber 4R36, with hacking and additional manual winding options. So the third generation from 2014 onwards was then fully integrated into the Prospects line, with each model sporting the X logo on the dial. It featured a newer movement, the 6R15, which bumped up the power reserve to 50 hours from the previous 40. On the dial, the day was omitted from the date, and the Cyclops was put on top of the crystal. Something to love or hate, I think. The indexes are back to normal, meaning they are not pointy anymore, and closer to the original generation that I have right here. The fourth generation is the current one, which can be distinguished from the third one via the comeback of the day date, with a large cyclops spanning both day and date and a jump back to a rich crown. The bezel was newly designed and is now always PVD coated and black on most versions. The movement, interestingly, is a step back as well, so to speak, as it uses the 4R36 found in the second generation. There is no orange version of this one, and the prices went up quite a lot as well. It retails for around 400 to 500 euros. But let's talk about the one that I have right here. So we have a stainless steel case all around with 42 millimeters in diameter and 47.5 millimeters from lug to lug. The bezel, which I think is the main feature of the whole design, is concave towards the crystal, so it pulls your view right in. Additionally, a very unique case design element is the ridged and serrated profile right here, which, if the bezel is at the 12-hour position, just matches perfectly with the underside of the case here. So since this is a diver, we have a unidirectional diver's bezel with 120 clicks. Give you an earful of that. Additionally, this one is quite nicely aligned, which I know is sometimes an issue of Seiko models. So the serration here on the side of the case was also compared to a revolver outline in a review online, which was both amusing to me at first, but also kind of an on-point comparison. And from the side you can see how the bezel is integrated into the profile, which explains why it's only 13.5 millimeters in height. At the lower and upper part of the case design, you can see that it kind of embraces the bezel with shrouding, which also encloses the crown here at 4 o'clock. A little bit of Seiko tuna vibe going on. On top, we have the so-called hard Lex crystal, which is a name creation by Seiko and stands for tempered and therefore more durable and scratch resistant than normal mineral glass. It sits somewhere in between a mineral glass and a sapphire crystal in terms of scratch resistance. So I have my Seiko Monster on the original bracelet with quite wide and thick links, which makes it very comfortable to wear and also puts a nice weight to the watch. And in fact, the watch together with the bracelet comes in at 171 grams. It has a 20mm lug width, but as you can see, the bracelet is already wider here at the beginning with 23mm, and it tapers down towards 20mm. With kind of a weird transition, I must say, here on this side to the clasp with a little step into it. So no smooth transition here at all. And the clasp itself is stamped with an engraved flip lock and additionally 2 pushers to secure the mechanism. So with this bracelet, we also have the functionality of a diver's extension, which makes it possible for you to fit this watch over your, well, extended wrist with a wetsuit on, for example, without having to undo any of the pins here. You just open up the clasp, and underneath this part of the bracelet where the buckle sits, you have a short little piece here that you can flip out. And there's a hook here as well. You can pull that out, and then you have just a 1 centimeter extension to your bracelet. It has a matte black dial with large 3-dimensional rectangular hour indexes in a kind of yellow-greenish hue due to their enormous amount of Seiko's own Lumibright mixture on them. The index at 12 o'clock stands out with the shape of a shield, and the 5-minute intervals are also written out close to them. The railroad has a smooth concave shape and specific gaps to make way for the 3D loomed indexes. It has a day-date window at 3 o'clock with black discs and white font on them. And if I use the quick setting option, you can see that we have both the day in English as well as in Spanish. And if we skip over to Sunday, you can see that the Sunday or Domingo in Spanish is always shown in a red font here. So the hands on this generation are white with lume on each tip. The minutes hand is sword-like, while the hour hand has a shark tooth shape, and they both align very nicely into a little rocket ship every hour. And thanks to the Watch Geek here on YouTube for pointing that out. It's such an unnecessary quirk, but it still puts a smile on my face every time now that I happen to notice it. It is 200 meters water resistant, as it tells you here right on the dial as well. But let's talk about the caseback for a second. It is a simple stainless steel caseback with an engraving on it that depicts a wave, but since there is not too much to talk about right here, let's open this one up, shall we? The movement inside is what I would consider a workhorse movement by Seiko, the 7S26. It beats at a frequency of 21,600 beats per hour or 6 amplitudes per second and sits on 21 joules. The power reserve is a solid 41 hours, but it features no hacking or manual winding option. So the prices of these first generation of Monsters are very interesting online because considering their initial price point in the 2000s of around 200 euros or dollars, the price is actually increased over the years. So I've seen battered up and scratched up versions online trying to sell for 200 to 350 euros even without box and papers. And there are pristine ones with BNP for up to 500 euros. So there's quite an increase of those compared to their initial price in the 2000s. And if you're looking to get some of those limited, colorful versions, the price increases are even steeper. So there you have it, a bold, monstrous design. And I think yet another example of the unique and quite affordable dive watches Seiko can provide. It spawned 4 generations of watches spanning over 20 years, being mostly popular in Asian markets at first, but it gathered a cult following among more adventurous collectors everywhere else in the world in the last years. How do you feel about this monster? Time to hide it under the bed, or rather unleash it into the wild? Thanks for watching and see you next time.